Emergency.
Please hurry. Hello?
Hiding in her bedroom, the woman asking police to come is in her 70s.
It's at my front door, banging on my front door. Oh my God.
The man outside, trying to force his way in, is her grandson.
I'll fight this girl again. Oh God.
Can you go in the bathroom?
It's harrowing, and it's just one among the tens of thousands of calls to police in this area alone, where they've been trialling new powers to tackle domestic abuse. On a Friday night, 6 months into the pilot, we're with response officers in Wigan. It's the latest area in Greater Manchester where the new Domestic Abuse Protection Orders, or DAPOs, are being trialled by police.
So daughter's XXX and has put a window through.
It's also the part of GMP's patch with the highest rate of domestic abuse.
18946, can I have a van, please? One female locked up on suspicion of criminal damage.
The woman's children are inside, staying with their grandparents, who tell police their daughter, who's in her 30s, had been drinking and smashed a window when they told her to leave.
If you're under arrest and you've been kicking off with us.
Afterwards, PC Sam Eccles told me they talked to the woman's parents about the new domestic abuse protection orders, but for now, they're reluctant. And I'm guessing that they probably don't see it as domestic abuse.
They know it is, because we've been out several times, so they ask the questions, and we do explain it to people. And I think it's just normal for them. It's hard, isn't it, though? It's your daughter at the end of the day.
Described as an epidemic, the often used phrase, "It's just a domestic," symptomatic of the years of failings that emboldened abusers while blaming and endangering the abused. This latest approach gives police more powers without victims needing to go to court.
We're one of the few districts that's piloting domestic abuse protection orders.
At an early morning briefing, police are about to head out for a day of check calls, visiting every perpetrator subject to a DAPO in Wigan, and also every victim.
Has he got anyone to contact with on his behalf or anything like that?
He speaks to his mum. I'm close to his mum.
He's not doing that to get to you or anything like that. Can we come in and make sure that he's not here?
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that he's not here.
The next name on their list to visit is a man in his 30s who's showing as wanted, and he's someone they've come across before.
You've previously arrested him, Andy?
We found a knife on him, so he was arrested for possession of a bladed article in a public place as well. It was on the inside of his jacket pocket. But yeah, last time he was locked up, it was me that locked it. He is quite a big guy.
The house looks empty, but he's in there. Over 6 foot tall, he's the grandson of the woman we heard in that 999 call.
Oh God, listen, please.
Where is he now? Is he still outside?
He's at my front door, banging on my front door. Listen. Oh my God, please. Somebody come and help me.
It was him trying to get into his elderly grandmother's home.
He's like a madman when he's got no money for drugs. I feel as I'm going to have a heart attack in my chest going now.
Oh, okay, just try and take a deep breath for me. Officers are on the way.
You want lengthy sentences. You want to be able to put something in place and basically send a message to these people to say this will not be tolerated.
For DAPOs to work, campaigners say, enforcement is crucial, and the maximum sentence for breaching the conditions is 5 years. The sentencing review specifically said short prison terms can still be used in these cases, but in recent weeks in Greater Manchester, there's been a big drop in the number of custodial sentences. Earlier this year, we spoke to a woman who we called Anne, whose ex was, at the time, in prison for breaching his DAPO.
This time he's in prison is the longest with 0 contact.
But as we get nearer to his release dates...
I'm just trying to get through 1 week at a time.
Within days of his release, Anne's ex breached the no-contact conditions of his depot again.
Mate, why are women so dense?
Why are women so dense, he asked, when he was arrested last month at another woman's home where he'd been staying. His previous sentence had been 8 months. This time, a judge sentenced him to 21 days. Anne wrote to us with her reaction, describing the sentence as an insult and saying it basically made the protection order not worth the paper it's written on.
It is really tricky, and I know the case you are referring to, and I share Anne's frustration. Ultimately, that is a court's decision. We're working really closely with the courts around the sentencing, around the consistency, and these are just some issues that are being fed back into the Home Office. We are absolutely committed to fulfilling this pilot, to rolling it out across the force if we can, accepting there are some hurdles that we need to overcome before we get to that position. So that's where we are concentrating our efforts at the moment.
You say rolling it out across the whole of Greater Manchester if you can. Is that a question at the moment?
So, where we are currently, we are a quarter away through a 2-year pilot. And there are some issues that I want us to absolutely nail down and resolve before we do a full force rollout.
Among the issues, the so-called positive requirements like addiction courses and perpetrator programs that were meant to come alongside DAPO conditions, but they're voluntary, and police say so far barely any perpetrators have signed up for them. In a statement, a government spokesperson told us breaching a DAPO is a serious offence, and that to ensure the protection orders are working in the best way possible, they're working closely with police and the courts.
We've got all in all 6 applications today.
Victoria Collins is part of a team that gathers the evidence needed by the courts to impose domestic abuse protection orders. On the morning we met at Manchester Magistrates, for the first time, a courtroom was being set aside to deal with the cases after some DAPO applications had been adjourned in the previous weeks because of court capacity.
These teething issues that we've been able to struggle and muddle through and get to the other side of, these are going to be ironed out, ready for a really smooth and efficient rollout nationally.
That's the hope. Though there's been loud lobbying from some police leaders, including the Greater Manchester Chief Constable, over funding and frontline numbers.
So is this one, presumably this is a grade 1, is it?
Yes, so this has come through as an emergency.
And in Wigan, in between the grade 1 calls and the battles through rush hour traffic, I asked the officers we were out with about their experiences responding to reports of domestic abuse.
As we were approaching the address, could hear the female screaming, and we walked in and the male's actively just punching her full on. I think there's 3 or 4 of us just ripping him off her.
How was she?
Very, very distressed. Very, very distressed. And in that situation, there's a huge carving knife at the side of the bed as well, so it's like, that could have landed in anybody. Me, colleagues, her, him. So you just don't know what you're walking into at all.
The stakes then are high, and highest of all for the victims. For this approach to work, where previous measures haven't, the problems they find will need solutions. Inevitably, there will be more questions then about prison spaces and how the resource-heavy enforcement of this pilot is paid for.
Claire Fallon reporting there. And if you or anyone you know have been affected by domestic abuse, you can find a range of places to seek help at channel4.com/support.